I completely messed up. And those are words I don't say lightly. Now, when I say I messed up, uh, I messed up mentioning another anime. This is another anime related video of a show that came out on a specific year. I already talked about it with a pretty dog shit show that came out back in 2020 with the sugar spice anime that was fucking terrible. But today I want to talk about a show that honestly, when I finally rediscovered the show, looking back if I missed anything from 2021 and 2022 of the best that came out those years respectively, there was one show that came out that was airing between 2021 and 2022 within the same route that Platinum End of all fucking things was airing, and that is Osama Ranking or Ranking of Kings. I forgot to talk about how amazing and how great this show is. And I want to share it in this video and brief about it because I just realized, yes, my top 10 for my best animes of 2021 and 2022 stands. But if I had to choose where I would have put Osama Ranking in my best of videos respectfully, it would have been my best animes of 2022, simply because it definitely got a lot stronger in the second half of that show. And on top of it, um, if we're talking about placement to be more specific, this honestly would have made my top 10. Like barely, just barely made within the top 10. In terms of where it would have been placed, it would have been placed in like the lower half of my top 10 best anime 2022. But enough of that. I want to gush over grades over the show today because I did the show justice, and I literally was like scrolling through everything and checking that I talk about every show that came out within a certain year. And I realized it was not only this show, but there might be a few other shows from the past that I would wish to talk about in a future video. So, without further ado, let's talk about Osama Ranking. So again, Osama Ranking. This is a show to come out back in the fall of 2021 season and officially didn't conclude till next year of winter of 2022 by Wit Studios. A studio that I'm pretty sure needs no introduction at this point. They are well known for some pretty big, well known mainstream animes that has been airing as of late, as of me just scrolling through the pages here. More specifically, one of their main claim to fame at this point has been their collaboration with Cloverworks through the Spy Family franchise. But what definitely got me interested in them in the first place would definitely be Vinland Saga or Attack on Titan or even the likes of Vivi Floridi Ice Song. But enough of that. Osama Ranking or Ranking of Kings is an amazing and outstanding show to begin with. This show, as I think I've talked about back when this first aired, still to this day has one of the most unique art styles I've seen in mainstream anime. Because like when you watch the show animation wise, it feels like at first like is this like a Disney type esque animation throwback? Like at first you feel like you're watching like a Disney animation movie, but now, when you look into the show, this is pure anime esque type of anime, more or less. And again, animation is absolutely gorgeous. The music and the themes that happen throughout the show is beautiful. It's portrayed super well. And I guess to kind of break down briefly what the story is about, it's about our main boy Boji Kun, who is essentially the main protagonist of some ranking. And even though he was born as deaf and born unable to speak unintentionally, um, Boji is obviously one of the royal inheritors of a major king. And despite the fact that he is deaf and that he cannot speak really well, he has a high level of intelligence. He is super empathetic. He is also super self aware of everything that's happening all around him, from what people say about him, for what people do and talk about him. And as a result, the people that he manages in within the kingdom himself sees him as basically an idiot, as someone who like, oh, he's gonna be our next future king. We don't want that. We don't want that at all. I would prefer we choose this other guy who is gonna be the next character we talk about, Daida, who is Boji's younger half brother, and essentially, everyone prefers that Daida would be the next up and coming king, as the current king in this show is already close to near death as a result. And once he dies, the whole point is that they want to announce a new king between Boji and Daida. And after the king dies, essentially, um, the people's choice isn't really the people's choice. It all boils down to the high-ranking officials that guard Boji, that guard Daida, and as a result, this leads to like a pretty big one-sided lob to where ultimately Daida essentially wins the God, sorry, I can't even pronounce it again, but basically Daida wins being the king. And this breaks Boji's heart really badly to where ultimately he runs off and goes to a bit of a misadventure to find and become the king that he truly wants to be. And he doesn't do it alone, of course. Within the first few episodes, we also get to meet Kage, who I'm not gonna lie when I say this. I think I even said it back when this came out. Kage is without a doubt my favorite character in the show. Kage is so freaking amazing. His backstory is so goddamn depressing from where he came from. And like when you first see him, you see him as nothing more as like a fucking scumbag throwaway. But when you get to know him, you get to realize like, man, this dude has been through like the worst of the worst, being that not only is he's like one of the final members of the Shao clan, but he lost his mother during such a horrible period, and the fact that the Shao clan was touted as like the most evilest clan ever, when in reality they were never like that in the first place. They had just been a peaceful people, but was completely misunderstood by the outer crowd. And as a result of what Kage has been through, Kage decides to take on jobs to the point that he resorted to being a scumbag person that likes to steal stuff for the sake of surviving in the world at large. Until he realizes he met across Boji, who is super happy and optimistic of what's happening, and these two become peanut butter jelly. They become best freaking friends throughout the show. And from that point forward in Osama Ranking, the show really does progress and dive deep into a lot of really personal subject matter that, again, it's hard for me to really like dive deep into in a show this caliber. But Osama Ranking really does bring out the best when it comes to character development. And for a show that's 23 episodes in length, I think they did it super well. So again, I'm not gonna like gush over the whole fucking story because I would highly recommend watching this show at the end of the day. But again, from Boji's character development to where he at one point was always being made fun of, he always had self doubt to where now he became the true king that people respected and loved, to Kage having this huge and amazing character development because of his connections with Boji, to Daida, who again, when you watch this show, you immediately will hate Daida the moment you see him in the beginning of the show, but at the end of it, you sympathize with this dude and you absolutely love him so much to the point that you get to like really walk into what he's going through throughout his journey. And that obviously cannot be credited to just Dida himself, because in the show itself you're going to see a mysterious character with Miranja who is essentially the catalyst of everything that goes on in Osama Ranking, and is one of the main reasons why Dida goes through this huge character development change. And then, to give out a few more shout outs about why the show's so great with characters, you have Despa, who, oh my god, Despa is a fucking boss, man. He is absolutely amazing. He is without a doubt super cool. This is a dude that when you get to know this character, you're going to know why I freaking love him in the first place. Super charismatic, really one of the main brains as to how he was able to make Boji strong in the first place, even though in Boji's given situation at the time, he was touted like he's never going to gain any strength. He doesn't have the potential, but Despa brings out the fullest potential out of those, even with those that have zero potential. Despa, like I said, amazing secondary character, and the characters that follow Despa around him. Absolutely stunning character. And finally, I guess we gotta talk about another big character here in the show with Oaken. Oh my god, Oaken's character is so goddamn menacing. From the very beginning, when you see this dude, you don't think otherwise. But once you reach to the freaking like close to the tail end of the show, you realize how menacing Oaken is, to the point that there were moments that Oaken was actually close to beating Boji, Kage, and other of the main royal members of the huge head honcho family. And Oaken's character presence cannot be understated. super underrated of a villain, I guess, and he becomes like a surprising villain in the show that again, when you eventually get to another Osama Ranking spinoff with the Treasure Chest of Courage and dive into how Oaken became Oaken in the first place, this his story in this spinoff is super sad and really tragic to say the least, and it really just enforces home why Oaken was such a freaking badass when Osama Ranking came out that year. And yeah, overall, again, Osama Ranking or Ranking of Kings is a must watch show. Again, easy would have been my top 10 best animes of 2022. Um, again, there is a lot more I could talk about with the show in terms of the story, in terms of many other side characters, because what the show does super well is they flesh out the side characters and a lot to where you really care and emphasize with them to the very end. At the beginning, there might be characters like, for example, Daida and Miranjo that you would absolutely hate and despise, right? But at the very end, you actually grow and get to learn and actually get to appreciate every single character once the show comes to an absolute end. So yeah, Osama Ranking is a must watch. Again, I apologize if I did not mention this show my best animes of 2021 or 2022 respectfully. So yeah, just wanted to talk about this because I got to do this show justice after realizing a little of a oopsie daisy moment. So yeah, I'll see you on the next one later.